Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more real-life stories that hit hard and make you think. My name is Ethan, and I've been married to Claire for 8 years. We were never the perfect couple you'd see in movies, but we were steady, grounded, the kind of pair who'd argue over what to watch for dinner and end up laughing about it later. I used to tell people we were ordinary in the best way. Two people who understood each other's flaws, rhythms, and still chose to stay. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. Quietly, almost politely, like a crack slowly forming in glass that you don't notice until it's too late. It wasn't a big fight, no single moment. It happened gradually. She stopped waiting up when I came home late. Our jokes started feeling rehearsed. Her phone became a constant companion, and our laughter felt planned rather than spontaneous. One night, after a long, freezing shift, I walked in to find her curled on the couch, eyes locked on her phone. I leaned down to kiss her forehead, like I always did. She flinched. "Don't touch me," she said, voice flat, unfamiliar. I froze, half expected her to laugh and say she was joking. But she didn't. "What?" I asked quietly. I said, "Don't touch me." It wasn't a request. The words struck harder than I could have imagined. I just nodded and walked upstairs, unsure what else to do. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop replaying it. How had we ended up here? Had I missed the warning signs? Maybe I'd been too focused on keeping things steady, too blind to see she had already let go. Weeks passed, and home stopped feeling like home. We became strangers living under the same roof. She'd eat alone, sleep apart, move through the house as if I were invisible. Every attempt I made to reconnect, a hug, a conversation, anything, was met with silence. One morning, over coffee, I finally asked, "Claire, are you okay with this with us?" Without looking up, she said, "I'm fine. You're the one with the problem." "I'm just trying to talk to you," I said. She sighed, irritated. "You always need something, Ethan. Can't you just exist without expecting anything from me?" That line stayed with me. Since when did wanting connection become a crime? I wasn't asking much, just some sign she still cared. Weeks went by, and the silence between us grew heavier than the walls themselves. Then one evening, after a long day repairing a roof in the pouring rain, I came home soaked and cold. Claire was in the living room, watching TV. I sat down beside her, rubbing my hands together. "Can you hand me that blanket?" I asked gently. She didn't even look at me. "Claire, get yourself." Something shifted inside me. Not anger, exactly, just a heavy weariness. I got up, grabbed the blanket, and went to the bedroom. A few minutes later, she followed, muttering about my dramatics. As I started changing, she said, dismissively, "You don't have to sleep here if you're uncomfortable." That tone, superior, dismissive, was a last straw. "What's your deal, Claire? You treat me like I'm a burden in my own home." She crossed her arms. "You're making everything about you. I told you not to touch me, not to expect things. That's not a request." Her words cut through the room like cold wind. I looked at her steadily, calmly. "Be a real wife. That's not a request either." For the first time in months, she seemed caught off guard. Not guilty, just surprised I'd finally pushed back. She turned and walked out without another word. That night, she slept in the guest room. I lay in the dark, no anger, just a strange, calm clarity. In the morning, her side of the bed was untouched, smooth like no one had been there. I could hear faint, cheerful music from the guest room, oddly out of place in the heavy silence of the house. When she came downstairs, dressed to go out, I asked, "Going somewhere?" "Brunch with friends," she replied, still scrolling. "Do they know you moved into guest room?" I asked. She glared. "You're being petty." "No," I said quietly. "Just honest." She grabbed her purse. "You're acting like I owe you something." I didn't answer, but she knew. She did owe me something. Not submission, not perfection, just partnership. That day I cleaned the house. Not for the mess, but to reclaim control over something. In a drawer, I found her old love letters. One read, "I love how you never give up on us." I almost laughed. When she came home that night, I packed a small duffel bag. "What's that?" she asked. "Clothes," I said. "I might stay with my brother for a bit." Her expression didn't change. "Do what you want." I looked at her long and said, "Marriage isn't about control, Claire. It's about choice. Every day we choose each other. Lately, you've chosen everything but me." She rolled her eyes. "You're so dramatic. This is why I can't talk to you." "No," I said. "This is why you don't want to." For a brief second, her mask cracked, a flicker of guilt, then gone. She turned and walked away. That night, I couldn't sleep. I thought about who we used to be, how she laughed at my bad jokes, how I believed love could fix everything. But love isn't a miracle. It's a choice. And she'd stopped choosing. Around 3 a.m., I grabbed my jacket and left. No note, no explanation, just a quiet click at the front door. I drove aimlessly until I reached the lake, where we'd had our first date. I remembered her laughter that night, her endless talking. Now, I could barely recall her voice. Sitting there, I finally understood she hadn't taken love from me. I'd just been giving it to someone who no longer wanted it. And that wasn't failure, it was clarity. 2 days later, she called. "Ethan, when are you coming home?" Her tone casual, detached. "I don't know," I said. "Is there even a home come back to?" She hesitated. "You're overreacting." "No," I said softly. "I just finally reacted." Silence followed, then a crack in her voice. "So that's it." I almost said yes, but instead I said, "It doesn't have to be, but if it keeps being one-sided, it will be." She didn't respond. The line went dead. A week later, I returned, not to make peace, but to gather what remained of me. She was at the kitchen table, phone in hand, eyes red. "You really left?" she asked quietly. "I told you I would," I said. She paused. "I didn't think you meant it." I nodded. That's been the problem all along. A tear slid down her cheek. I didn't move closer. I'd spent too long trying to reach someone who didn't want to be touched. As I picked up my bag, I looked at her one last time. "You said, 'Don't touch me.' I listened. Now, don't reach for me, because that's not a request either." Then I walked out. Endings are strange in their quietness. No yelling, no drama, just a soft settling of peace into spaces pain once filled. I didn't hate her. I didn't love her anymore either. I just understood her. Sometimes, love doesn't end with betrayal or lies. Sometimes, it fades slowly, quietly, under the weight of neglect. When kindness dies, so does connection. And when that happens, leaving isn't anger, it's self-respect.